Hey Canucks fans, let's talk about 5 reasons why last season was such a disaster. I'm Canuck Clay. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Tuesday, August the 10th. If you're new, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button for Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Now you might be saying, Clay, if you're such a positive guy, why are we revisiting last year? Well, I want to revisit it because putting into context why last season was so bad, it gives us a reason for hope. It gives us at least a foundation, a baseline for why we think this team is going to be so much better this season. And it's not just because of the new players and the new coaching. And Travis Green was on The Athletic, the podcast, the Vancast with Thomas Drance. Really good, honest interview. And he talked about some of these things as well. And when you look at all these things put together, you can see why it was such a challenging season and why hopefully the Canucks and the fans will never have to go through anything like that once again. So number one, first and foremost, and yes, it's going to permeate and of course influence almost everything on this list. Number one was the COVID outbreak. Now we already knew it was going to be a different season, only 56 games, playing in front of no fans, all Canadian division. And the fact that the team got to such a bad start, 6-11 in the first 17 games against the Canadian division, that didn't help. But obviously this all happened because of COVID. And specifically, the Canucks had their own COVID outbreak, the worst in professional sports. We know that starting March 31st, they had a bunch of games that were postponed. And then, of course, then they were almost rushed back to play. And then JT Miller had to speak up and said, no, we're not ready to play. So they at least pushed the return back by 2 or 3 days. But all in all, when they came back, it was such a compressed schedule. And I think they went 7-11 on the way. So they started the season 6-11. They ended off 7-11. So they ended as poorly as they started the season. And we now know the wear and tear mentally, physically, just the grind that it was on our players. And they simply had no recovery time in between games as they were playing basically a game every 2 nights, sometimes back-to-back, 4 out of every 7 in an effort to finish their schedule on time. And even then, they were still playing games as the playoffs were starting. So we don't have to revisit it too much. Obviously, COVID is the biggest answer and the biggest reason why it was such a crazy season. And it probably led to a lot of disdain and a bitter taste in a lot of players in their mouths and in their minds, and just overall a very poor experience, one that has maybe led to some of the movements we've seen. Nate Schmidt wanted to get traded, Alex Edler wanted to become a free agent, and so on and so forth. So obviously it goes without saying that the number one reason why last season was such a season to forget was because of COVID, and in particular the COVID outbreak on the Vancouver Canucks. Simply, guys were not playing at 100%. So how can you realistically push, as much as we want it to happen, how could they realistically push for a playoff spot when they weren't even physically or mentally at 100%? Number two, Elias Pettersson's injury. Remember, he only played 26 games. So he missed more games, 30, than he played, 26 in that 56-game schedule. We know he got injured, and it was actually a fluke injury. He actually got his stick caught when he was checking one of the Winnipeg Jets players, and it basically jammed his wrist in a way where there was a fracture or a sprain. I think it's a sprain as opposed to a fracture. But he ended up not playing for the rest of the season. So he only played in January and February and did not play in March, April, and May. Obviously, a huge blow to the Vancouver Canucks. Their most gifted offensive player. You could say their best player right now. Not the captain or not the emotional heartbeat of the team, but certainly one of them. And we are a much more dangerous team when he's on the ice. He's so good offensively. He works hard defensively. He's competitive, all those things. And we saw obviously the ramifications at even strength. You're missing your best center. We saw the ramifications on the power play. You're missing your biggest threat from the right side there. So let's not forget that was a huge, I put it second on the list. This wasn't supposed to be like an ordered list, but I put it second on the list behind COVID as to why the Canucks had such a bad season. Is Elias Pettersson missed over half of the games. Number 3, slow adjustments for our new players, Nate Schmidt, Travis Hamonic, and Braden Holtby. Those are the 3 that come to mind right away. Holtby, he actually started the very first game of the season. He was splitting with Thatcher Demko for the first 10 or 12 games, but neither of them really took the ball and ran with it at the start of the season. I referred to the slow start to the season already. So Braden Holtby, he didn't play horribly, but he wasn't great. So that, we wanted a bit more from him. Nate Schmidt, he was the one that I think we had really high hopes from, coming over with a $6 million contract. We obviously know now where that ended up. He got traded to the Winnipeg Jets for a third rounder. The same pick that we gave up to get him from Vegas a year ago. And unfortunately, he just never really gelled with either who he was playing with or with the team itself. And again, maybe it's because he didn't get a chance. I've talked about this many times, a chance to hang out with the guys socially, a chance to get to know the city, the people in the city, sightsee, all those things. It was a really tough year for all players, but especially for a new player in new surroundings like Nate Schmidt, especially an extrovert like Nate Schmidt. It would kind of be like if I went to a new team. I think I'm pretty extroverted. I think it'd be very hard to be cooped up in my hotel room all the time. And Travis Hamonic, not so much from a social side, but for him on the ice, he had a slow start, right? He came into camp, or not even camp. Yeah, he came into camp late, a late signing. Then he got injured after 9 games. And then finally, once he got back, he started to play better, elevated the play of Hughes a little bit and the entire defense. But I'd say, the slow adjustment periods of those 3 main guys were a big difference as well in Schmidt, Holtby, and Hamonic. Number 4, speaking of new guys, this whole influx of new guys that we brought in at the end of the year off of waivers and things before the trade deadline didn't really move the needle. Where you're talking about a Travis Boyd or a Jimmy Vesey or a Jace Harlock or any of those type of guys, they didn't, and even guys that we've had on our own roster, the Mark Michalises of the world, they really didn't do that much. Colin got a look, Gadjevich got a look, Will Lockwood only got a look of 1 or 2 games, but Tyler Graveback, all these guys coming through the bottom 6 because, the Canucks were already out of it for all intents and purposes, get a chance to look at, could any of these guys make a dent, make a lasting impression? And none of them did, because Boyd's gone, Vesey's gone, Harlock's gone, Graveback's going overseas, Lind was lost to Seattle in the expansion draft, Gadjevich is still in the system. So, but overall, not a lot of Michaelis release. So not a lot of impact players there. The one that maybe we are happily surprised with a little bit is Matthew Highmore. We traded Adam Gaudette for him. He's got 1 more year left on his contract, and he'll be battling for that 12th forward spot, the 4th line right winger spot. So I'd say none of the guys that, we weren't expecting them to be difference makers, but at least make a bit of a difference. None of them really did, and I think that was another sore spot for the team last year. And number 5, just overall the contract talks of not Pettersson and Hughes, but rather Jim Benning and Travis Green. Now with Jim Benning, he actually signed a 3-year contract extension back in August of 2019. So that goes until the end of the 2022-2023 season. So Benning's got 2 more seasons on him. There was some talk in February when the Canucks were going through, late February, one of their bad swings. There was talk of whether or not Benning was going to get fired. But instead, Aquilini came out with a vote of confidence for Benning. And then Benning did his press conference in March, that one where he says he's admitting they're not a playoff team now, but they want to be as early as this season, and that they'll be really competitive in two seasons. So that was kind of distracting for a little bit. And then, of course, this Travis Green contract talk that went all season. Actually, I don't even know how much they were talking during the season because they were so quiet about it. But then it was quickly announced at the end of the regular season that Travis Green was re-signed for to another 2 years, which was a big relief, obviously, to him, to the front office, and to fans of the team, at least those fans that really like Travis Green. So not a huge thing. I don't think it affected the team on the ice, but maybe off the ice, it's still another realm of uncertainty that was hovering over the team. So you add up all 5 of those things: COVID, Pettersson's injury, slow adjustments by the newcomers, no impact by the late newcomers, and then the contract talks and status and job security of Benning and Green. You could see why it was such a tumultuous season, a season that hopefully we will never ever repeat. And that's why, with all those things behind us, truly, all COVID's gone. Well, at least we're coming out of it, hopefully. PD back healthy, Schmidt, Holtby, all gone, but Hamonic's still back. None of those fringe players, none of them are back. Rather, we have impact players in Garland and Dickinson. And then, of course, Green locked up for the next 2 seasons. There should be more stability both on and off the ice this season, along with better players. So overall, that's why I'm so excited about this upcoming season. However, Canucks fans, I think we got to know where we came from to know how we got to where we are and where we want to get to. And that's why I wanted to do today's vlog. So Let me know what you think. Is there an issue or a factor that I missed? Leave that in the comment section, or maybe you can affirm or challenge one of my points. Leave that in the comment section as well. As you know, I don't get a chance to reply to all of them, but I certainly take the time to read all of them for sure, and I appreciate you taking the time to leave a comment. So let me know what you think. What do you affirm? What do you want to challenge? And what did I miss off my list? Shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, simalexander, Justin Credible, nucksfan number 29, Lucas Gates, Chris Seifried, Adam Broomfield, Shea Family Channel, Shannon Hollingworth, and Andrew Chang. Thanks for your support as always. And thanks to the support of all members of all levels. You are listed in my video descriptions. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or under my videos, or on the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you like to, like this video if you like to, become a member of this channel if you like to, leave a comment if you like to. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.